open it up with a prayer, so if y'all pray with me. Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather here tonight. We ask that you watch over us. We ask that you watch over our families and our loved ones and anyone that's sick and hurting. We ask that you bless our meeting tonight. Be here with us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. First, I would like to introduce Miss April LaHane's 4th grade class. Miss April, you want to step up and tell us what you have?
Sure. I'll let them sit down for a second. They're a little more nervous. I'm April LaHane. I teach 4th grade at Demorest Elementary School, and I'm here with a few of my students to present a copy of our book that we wrote this school year to the City Council. Thank you. It would not have been possible without you. Thank you, Mr. Musselwhite, for organizing the city officials and for allowing them to come into my classroom. And thank you for sitting in interviews with 4th graders. Megan may have acquired a few more pets than she has in real life in the actual interview. It's okay. But it was a blast. They learned so much about our city from the eyes of the leaders. And they were able to work with those leaders, write interviews about each of them. They put in time. We went over to the senior center across the street and played board games with our seniors and did a service learning project. So all of those pieces are a part of this book, and it shares why these 4th graders truly love our community with quotes from my students. This community is one of the best communities in the world. Demorest is one of a kind. I think that Demorest is the best community in Habersham. I would agree with that. Did you know that I live in the best community ever? Straight from the mouths of 4th graders, because of people like you who take your time to really put your leadership into action and let our students see what leadership truly looks like. So I hope you enjoy reading this book as much as we enjoyed taking the time to put it together for you.
Will you introduce your students?
I will. As their eyes get big. I have Aaliyah McKay.
Yeah, she interviewed me.
Luke Mario and Cohen Thomas. 3 of my students. 3 of my leaders.
All right, guys, y'all get up top here. Y'all stand up here.
Yeah.
They're going to make you stand up taller.
Yeah. All right, walk around this way.
They probably should.
Can we get a picture with that? That's all we got around. Yeah. Where are you going?
Andrew, your future right there.
There we go.
Thanks, guys.
Ms. LaHanes, if we want to order our own copy, how do we do that?
If you look on the back, it gives you the website that you can go to and the PIN number that you would use to be able to.
And what does that book cost us?
It depends on whether you get paperback or hardback. It's
choices?
about $27 for, I believe, the hardback copy of it. So.
Thanks, Miss LaHane.
You're welcome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
y'all so much again.
Thank you.
Megan, how many pets do you have according to the book?
10.
All right.
I think that's only 10 of one kind of animal and maybe 3 of another and 1 of a different one.
And the interesting part is, the young person who interviewed her, that's the animals they have.
Oh, no way.
I remember him telling me, we were talking, it happened to the boys, and they were both telling me, one of them did have. Yeah.
Oh.
Just for the reference, so you have 1 dog,
10 chickens
Yeah.
and a bitch.
And- Ms. Lanes, y'all are free to go, or y'all are welcome to stay. Stay with us. Thank you for coming,
Thanks
parents.
for coming, guys. It's nice to meet y'all.
Thank y'all.
Everybody's welcome again.
Just like
Bye.
100 years.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
She interviewed me.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, when she told me her parents were like, yeah, I'm gonna go with them. Yeah, I know, but yeah, you too.
All right, next up is discussion of the parking lot. Mr. Gresham, do you want to open this up as far as conversation?
Yes. What we're gonna talk about here is, I have asked for a proposal from Bill and from James Urban to design, survey, landscape this front area. Because if we are going to move the post office here, we're going to have to give some additional parking. If we're going to lease out the rest of this building, we are going to have additional parking. Because the post office is requesting minimum of 20 parking lots designated just for them. And it's how they would have to enter through the front to better make that happen. I've got, it's gonna be a sensitive area, obviously. We had, if you'll pass those there. And, pass those, and you can pass one around, Donnie, to Lynn from the arborist. Well, they can have one too, Lynn, big deal. Take them all. I had no idea, but I was told you were coming to discuss the trees. So I don't know. So, anyway. So Bill also would be doing a landscaping plan in his proposal, and it would give you a full layout of the different types of plants, types of trees, size of trees, things of that sort. Obviously, nothing can make up for those two massive trees that are out there. But that's, fortunately for y'all, if we're gonna move forward with the parking lot, that's gonna be a major decision the five of y'all will have to make. And I'm here to, again, gather the facts, to show y'all what our options are. And with this, we got two proposals in here, where Bill would do the surveying, laying out the parking lot. We gotta do storm drains, we gotta do storm water. And then James would be the engineer to design it. So there's two different pieces of the puzzle here. Because there's no surveys of this per se. And what Bill would do is as-built, or James would do the as-built to include everything, because stormwater is gonna be a big part. Because that water just pretty much just sheets right back. Well, Andy goes over in front of the gym, down into a creek or a ditch between two lots back there on that side. So there's a lot of information. And I have talked to our lender about estimated numbers of cost. And I'll let James and Bill talk about, for this size parking lot, this is an estimate as of today, no hard numbers, but just a round number for discussing. Because if we move forward with this, we would then have James and Bill do this work, and then we can get some construction numbers and then get a hard number. But the post office is wanting to move forward, and I can't move forward until we decide if we're going to build a parking lot or not. Because if we're not gonna build a parking lot, there's no reason to move them up here. And we're just gonna occupy, we'll be pretty much the only occupants in this building.
Are they willing to move up here prior to the post office being, the
No, they
parking
have a
lot being
parking lot.
done?
Chicken and the egg,
Okay.
because they're ready for me to sign. We've negotiated the leasing rate. We've negotiated that out. And in order for us to move, for me to officially give them that agreement and a memo of understanding, I just gotta know what we're gonna do with the parking lot.
And their rent that they would be paying would pay for the cost.
That's the plan.
Cost of a remodel and along with the parking lot.
Only thing we have to do is get the power to them. I've asked them to clarify what exactly that means. so that I can get an adequate quote on that. The only other number that's out there is what are we gonna do with the exterior of the building? Because, you know, all the windows, the air conditioning units and heaters that are stuck in the center there, we're not even started addressing the exterior of the building. So,
It's first step.
this is the first step of several steps
So,
to enhance this building.
you know, and, yeah, we've talked about the trees out front, talked about that numerous times and how we wanted to save those trees and looking at ways to plan around those trees, but as you can see, the arborists say the lifespan of those trees is not much longer. No, I'm glad.
I do,
Well, it's just,
I do,
Yeah.
because
and it's something that we have talked about when we bought this building.
I can't believe that area agrees.
Well, the thing is that knowing that if we don't do something, that they could blow over in the next storm. I mean, even as weak as they are, what the arborists are saying, that they're just so thin. How thin did he say that one tree was?
What the main part is, one of the trees, they all have one of the trees has a massive root base that comes and sticks out. And the one closest to the gym, half of it just comes straight down into the ground. And then it has the base of those roots on the other side. He's surprised that tree's even lasted through any of these windstorms, not having that base of that root system. They cored them and 135, I mean, you know, they're old.
Yeah.
They're old.
they live 300 years, so they're
Yeah.
still not even been an age.
I'm not saying, you know, I'm just,
If you do them trees, take up CO2 and they give us oxygen, which we need.
So when we
They
first started,
also take up groundwater, which we did a
which we,
moratorium on building because the groundwater was a problem.
that's right, which we need.
Cut
You know,
trees.
part of the discussion in this, I said, if we even start down this path, I wanna see a huge planting of trees all through that landscape plan. Mr. Gresham, that when Mark was talking to you about this, were you planning on designing trees in those flower beds?
Street trees, definitely,
Yes, sir.
and a matter of trees are easy. Shrubbery, color, and stuff like that's a little more difficult. Use of street trees is, I mean,
define a
20
street.
to 25 foot on the center, red maples, sugar maples, zelkovas, some smaller magnolias, different things like that. I mean, most ordinances, I hadn't checked on them, but most ordinances have understory and overstory trees, listings of what they allow. But I know some of them, you know, I know we don't want to put rascal pears out there. I know we don't want to put a lot of stuff. You know, my only training is I have a horticulture degree from University of Georgia. And I became a surveyor and builder after that. So, I do have a knowledge of what to grow here and what to grow fast. And you can get some pretty big trees that'll grow up and kind of, you don't want to block your building, but you don't want to just let it be stark, because it'll be stark at first when you take that big tree out from the road. Maybe everybody knows. But the thing about that tree, it's got a critical root zone that's probably half of that whole courtyard. And anytime you get a CRZ, you have to,
And what is that?
critical root zone, that's the drip line basically. So if the tree's 42 inches diameter at breast height, the drip line is 42 feet out.
So basically to the end of,
So that's
branches.
an 84 foot wide circle. if you affect more than 30% of that, is an arborist rule, you can kill the tree. And it won't show in the first year, but in the next year, it'll start showing. And so if you take the tree down now, it may be a $3,000 job. If you take it down after you've done paving and all that, you could be talking about a $25,000 job. So if the arborist says the trees, they say it was hollow, but if they said it's on its last leg, I would definitely take it down, because you can't get, I don't think you can get parking spaces and not affect that critical root zone, especially on those two trees that we're talking about. Now, the ones on the side, they should be okay. We're gonna talk about that. There's a little wall, we may have to do some shoring or replacing on that wall.
It's about on the concrete wall that's right there by the side.
That is, if it's in the right of way or not, we'll figure all that on the survey. So what I'll do on the survey is I'll locate like a bird's eye view of everything you have. We'll type state plan coordinates. We'll shoot elevations on all available drainage structures, inverts, manholes, sewer manholes, inverts. Try our best to find water lines, where they are and how deep they are. We'll talk to Ryan about that, to help with that. And give it all to James. He's got a big job, because he got to deal with the DOT on that entrance. Bless him, but he knows how to do that. And, but I'll give him the topos, and I'll give him all the tools, and do that G format where he can go work on it. And then once James is done and he gets everybody's approval, I will draw a landscape plan, and we'll take input from any of you guys if you want, just to satisfy a street view of nature and beauty and lasting. You know, we don't want to put a tree in there that grows about 3 inches a year. Maples grow fast. And that's the reason we use them, because they don't spread out so fast, and they got fall cover. So you get some of that, it helps. But I think we can make this look good. And once James is done with the engineering, we'll come back and do construction staking for the curbing, the storm drain, the sanitary sewer connections, whatever we gotta do for the contractor. It may be a little.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, sir.
If you're in money, how much would it cost to plant trees to replace that?
Well, you know, say a ball and burlap maple tree is probably $700 to install.
How tall is it?
Well, the burlap, that's a big round tree, probably 15 feet tall. And it'll make an immediate impact in a year. Generally.
Hey guys, you can see in Bill's proposal here, what he's estimating here is $6,025. And then when he's talking about coming back to do the staking and so forth, that's an hourly job, guys doing it in the field out there.
Would you want to put that up on the screen so we can see what you're talking about?
So this is just a survey.
Well, this is everything that we're talking about.
Right. Okay.
I need some backup too. The post office is a federal building, and the USPS is still federal. So why are we trying to take care of the federal, I mean, we don't have to have them here at all.
Well, so we don't.
Right, very.
So right
It's
now,
all shot in there.
the DDA owns the building post office is in.
Right,
Okay, so they pay a lease rate for that building. Probably 99% of the post offices across the United States are in leased buildings.
Yeah.
And they could pull out and go build something somewhere else, they have to be in Demorest. So they would have to go build something or find something else that's suitable.
right.
It's just them paying that high lease rate is good for the city on bringing in extra income of them paying, how much is it, 4,000?
4,200 here.
4,200.
$50,400. And the other part is, we can only, because this is a tax-free loan that we have on this, we can only lease 10% of this building to the public.
What is the original, when we talked about buying this building, it was about having all the municipalities under one roof,
Yeah.
bringing the fire, bringing the police.
Correct, so,
Is that gonna upset or cause any?
no, that's what we talked about in our
Not
retreat,
issue?
as far as, in this plan, as far as moving the post office in the end, moving city hall right here, and then moving the police department down in the end, and we don't have a plan for the fire department yet. But starting that process of moving everything in-house, including the post office.
You don't know about the post office. Really and truly, we don't need this post office. They almost closed it anyway, and I don't know why they don't. It's not even, what is it, like 60% used, and 90% of that is the college?
Well, with them even moving down here, they're asking for less square footage, so they are consolidating more. But due to federal law, I think they have to have one here.
And every zip,
Well, they have closed other post offices.
Yeah.
but they may have had
Federal law
others,
is.
but they may have had others in that same town too, though. Could be multi-location.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part of that though, but again, for the city to be involved in this, it is strictly, it comes down to cash flow. It comes down to, if I can't lease to them, and I can only lease 10% of this building space to a private, who am I gonna lease it to?
Even then, you're gonna have the same problem with parking.
So you're saying they're private?
currently.
No,
Okay.
No, they're cut.
I can only lease this building
Uh-huh.
to anybody of 10% to the free market.
But
It's very, I don't get what you don't
with
understand.
them paying $4,200, we couldn't find anybody to pay that rate. That's a tremendous rate to bring in. The lease rate.
And how long is the lease?
First one is 10 years with 2 5-year options. And we just ended a year and a half ago a straight 30-year lease,
Right.
which was crazy back in 1994 to have done
I
it.
remember when they're paying them before they
Like $1,200.
No, it was less than that. I thought it was like 900.
It's roughly $1,100, $1,200, and they went to $2,100 once that lease matured down there. And it's on an annual lease, so it comes due each July 1st.
And that would be increased to what?
$4,200, $50,400 a year. And then in the 2 5-year lease options, it's a 10% increase per the 5 years.
Which we would use their lease rate to pay our loan rate to do the parking lot and do the remodel to move City Hall up here. So it would be net neutral for the
That's right.
price moving that.
We currently have a problem with parking now, and that doesn't include the police department being here.
People like to walk, do they?
No. Like when we have events or, like when food releases in here, Mark's constantly coming down here having to run people further that way where they park on the street, because we just don't have enough parking when City Hall's busy.
Too bad we can't be the first city to promote walking.
Walking.
Park over.
Well, that's in the planning too.
Yeah, right.
We have sidewalks
That's
in our
planning.
grants that we've been approved for.
Yeah, that's been ongoing.
Everything.
Yeah,
Well,
but
did you
the
see-
grants have
did
been,
you
2
see our
of the
grants?
grants have been approved, so they're happening.
Oh, yeah. Good things are But it really comes down to conversations as far as moving down the development or moving in to talk about development and planning, talk about moving to the next step to see if this is feasible. So if we want to move forward with the post office, we need to move forward with this.
You've already decided. Even though you hadn't voted.
Council, what do y'all want to talk about?
Y'all want James to talk now about his section of what his proposal includes? All right, James.
Once I get survey information from Bill, my job is to prepare a complete set of construction plans. That includes the site plan that shows the overall dimensions of the parking lot, detailed dimensions of curb, length, radius, things of that nature. Have a grading and drainage plan that shows the detailed proposed elevations. It'll show the areas where you need to cut, areas you need to fill, show the new proposed storm drain infrastructure for the parking lot with elevations. We're required to do show three phases of erosion control. That's when you begin the project, during the intermediate stage, and then the final stage. This will show the best management practices for erosion control, such as silt fence, temporary grassing, final grassing, any riprap that's needed, things of that nature. We'll have a utility plan, but we'll also address stormwater management. This parking lot will produce more runoff than what we have now. We have to control that. There's a good chance that may be underground. That system, I'll design that system, and then we'll show where the stormwater would be best to leave the property. Make sure that we don't have any issues downstream, make sure we don't have any damage to any properties downstream. This set of plans, since Demorest does not issue land service permits, at least as far as I know.
That's correct.
These plans go directly to the EPD. I will work with the city to prepare a document called a notice of intent. That is your permit. The notice of intent and the plans go to the EPD directly. And then you wait 14 days. If you have not heard back from EPD in 14 days, you may start construction. Another part of my proposal is the GDOT driveway plan. That's a totally different and separate permit process. I will work directly with the DOT to provide them the type of entrance that they want to see and the location. I hope they'll let us put the driveway closer to Florida Street, but they may want us to put it closer to the building. But that's up to them. We submit plans to them, they review the plans separately than the full set that I just discussed. That's usually a 3-month process. They'll review the plans, they'll have some changes they want us to make. We'll make those changes, and then it goes through kind of a review process with supervisors. But that's usually a 3-month process.
What's the feasibility of having the entrance on Florida Street instead of 440? Is it possible?
I haven't, we don't have a survey, but it appears that there's such a difference in elevation that it may make that driveway too difficult, too steep to get up to this level for the building.
You know, on the third page there is his fees for the site design is $9,200, and the GDOT driveway is $3,500. And then he's got an hourly expense, if he goes to that.
Thank you, James. You're welcome. Council, any discussion, any questions?
I'm curious. Do you guys have any speculation on what that could cost? The overall project, what do you think, top of your head? $500,000?
That's a loaded question, but that's probably what I would think.
I'm just curious.
I think your guess is not far.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Okay.
It'll depend on some things.
Right.
As far as construction goes, you know, what we find,
Sure.
if we find anything underneath, there's some bad fill in the courtyard, because it's obviously fill. And, you know, that would go to another layer. How do we get that out and get structural people in? How do we-
Because there is an old foundation that's level with the ground that you can see
Yeah.
between this, what essence would be the front entrance and the first tree.
Just based on, is that Florida Street on that side?
Florida Street on that side, North Hazel's back here.
Okay. Well, it just, I mean, there's a good bank
Yeah.
That's a good thing, yeah.
on the gym side.
Right.
Yeah. So it looks like there's some field in there. I wasn't here when they did it. Jerry, you might have
I just curious.
No, that's a good question.
Yep.
Any other questions?
And for council, do y'all need Bill and James to stay for additional questions?
I do not.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Y'all free to go.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
y'all for coming.
I want my deal.
Do what?
I want my deal. Yeah. Thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there any other further discussion on this topic?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Andrew just said $500,000 for this parking lot.
I'm just asking, what do they think? I'll talk ahead.
I thought we had heard numbers closer to $50,000. No,
No.
I had said 450.
450.
Yeah.
And how long would it take us to recoup that from the post office?
So with the loan
54,000.
coming in, Mark, what was those numbers on that?
Well, if you borrowed $700,000, and I don't have a basis for that number, I just picked a number for argument's sake. Your payment is more, if you use 700,000 on a 25-year, the payment is more than that. So that would be $4,700. That's $500 extra above it. If I brought the number down to 600, payment's $4,000. But again, that only gives you $100,000 to do other things too. Because
Right.
you still gotta do the exterior, you still gotta rehab down here too. So that's where it's a moving target right now.
Mhm.
Because it,
But 625, and even if you contracted out all that work and say it was 500,000, or some of our guys could do some of the grading and drive some of that price down.
Brian can do, they can do 100% of the grade.
And I think realistically, with them doing the grading, they might push it down to maybe 425, 400, and we could use those funds elsewhere to do those remodels.
And Brian and I could GC it ourselves and not have to hire somebody else as we did the building down there.
So there's some ability to drive that down into the.
But we just have some unknowns, especially with the, the volatility of construction prices, concrete,
Yeah.
asphalt,
Yeah.
tariffs.
But with the plans, then we can move forward with a better plan, but it's gonna cost.
I'd love to see some apple trees out there in the little orchard.
Might be a beach or two.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
Bushes.
I'm good.
You could take some of the wood from the big oak trees and have something made.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
serious.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'll bet people come get a chunk of it.
I mean, we talked about this in planning, talked about it at our retreat and things. It's a
And I thought, the idea of moving the post office up here originally was to pay the loan on this bill.
Not fully, no, sir. On a loan, just on a new loan. So it would pay for a new loan. They'll pay for those remodels. What else got that?
It's a lot of money.
So was my grocery bill, what we gotta eat?
$5,200 a month, or how many years is that?
It was,
Hang on, 500,000, that's 100 years?
it was 25.
25 years.
25.
Any other discussion on that? All right, let's move on to the next one, which is extending the alcohol beverage ordinance. All right. So this is, like, we had this ordinance that lasted for a year, right?
1 year.
Yeah, so this is a renewal of the same ordinance, or are we modifying the last ordinance?
My questions are, I mean, if we want, do we want, yeah, go ahead and see if you can get Thomas on the phone first before we
Please.
start discussing.
Thomas is in court, so it's a matter of where he is, whether he can answer or not.
So the purpose of this ordinance is to allow other businesses here in Demorest or otherwise.
The amendment was to allow, the amendment was for 12 months, and it was to allow entities within the city that wanted to host events, to use vendors for serving of alcoholic beverages within the county of Habersham. The original ordinance was only for vendors within the city of Demorest. Correct. But it seems like it's, and the reason why we did the amendment last year is because it seems like it was very limited, because we only have 2 real restaurants here, and neither one of them really do just serving. So serving of alcohol. So if somebody wanted to use them for an event, they would more than likely have to use the food of those restaurants for the event too, which is limiting what you can provide for events. So if you want to have burgers and hot dogs, you wouldn't be using the restaurants we have here. Or if you wanted to have Mexican food served, you wouldn't be able to use the restaurants that we have here. So that's why we passed a 12-month amendment to that ordinance, but it just seems like it's been kind of limiting. I mean, just like 12 months ago when we first looked at it, it's very limited in what somebody can do, because generally, I mean, this primarily affects Piedmont.
So do we need to have a first reading on this? Are we proposing a new ordinance, or are we proposing an
Well-
amendment to this?
Well, I would like to see that the amendment become permanent into the ordinance, but I don't know if we're gonna have to do a couple of readings for that, and it's of utmost importance that we do something either tonight or in this month, because Piedmont has a couple of events coming up, so it's kind of urgent. So if we have to go through readings, can we extend the amendment that we have for a certain amount of time?
Mark, what you got on that?
We have to have 2 readings, so we would have to schedule another meeting ASAP. When is y'all's first?
Well, the first one, I didn't realize the date then until the president asked the question last week. But the first one, we have a big event on the 26th.
Okay.
But we have a smaller alumni tennis reunion that wanted to have someone this coming weekend on the 5th. So it was pretty quick, and we're not talking real high volume events as far as people go.
I believe she is talking to Thomas.
Okay.
So
What are the dates of the events? The
first one is a fit, but it's a small tennis reunion, they wanted to have food truck and alcohol. The other is the 26th, which is our bigger event, it's an alumni weekend, for sporting events. It's for the sporting events, it's not for the alumni banquet.
Hang on, let me put you where they can hear you, Thomas.
I don't think you're responding.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So, my understanding that you all want the ordinance that allowed for off-premises pouring permits to be issued for establishments not in the city that have a city license. The authorization expired on March 31. So if we're desiring to extend that, I mean, we can take out the date entirely, or we can extend it until next year, 27. You all can do a first read tonight and then do just a special called meeting at your convenience. Either, I guess at this point it would have to be Thursday or Friday. Just gather a quorum together and then you can adopt. You could do a second read and adopt this.
So the easiest way, can you hear me, Thomas?
I can.
So can we tonight just go ahead and extend the amendment, which will take care of the urgent issues at hand? And then in a few months, the next couple of meetings, we go through with a couple of readings to make that amendment permanent.
No, because this is an ordinance, so it requires 2 reads. So, I mean, frankly, it wouldn't matter to me, probably didn't matter to the city. The problem is that if you issue this permit to an establishment that doesn't comply with their alcohol ordinances, then it probably won't, but it could certainly create issues for their state licensing. If they verify they've always been in compliance with local ordinances. That's the reason that it's important.
So you're saying we cannot vote to extend the amendment?
No, because it's not a resolution. Because it's an ordinance, it requires 2 readings. You got to have it. You got to consider it at 2 meetings.
Or can we meet again on Thursday or Friday, guys? That's the only way that you can fix it.
On Thursday.
Yeah.
I have a track meet.
What about on the day, lunchtime?
I can meet lunchtime.
I mean, but yeah.
I can't, but I just need 3 of y'all, so.
We can do
I
it Friday
can,
at lunch.
I can definitely do
Yes.
after lunch.
Yes.
And
So you got Donnie, you got Sean, who else can come?
Jimmy,
Yeah, because
Thursday or Friday?
either
Either one.
Thursday, we're done.
Let's do Thursday. Ma'am?
Yes, my question was, there in the ordinance, it also says that we can only call someone else to campus or use someone else if the other restaurants say they can't do it.
I don't think it has that amendment.
I think we talked about that.
Oh,
So,
the one I saw had
The
it in.
original language, I think,
Thank
had
you.
that in the amendment.
Thank you.
So either or.
Okay, well, I'm fine with doing first reading tonight, and then we meet Thursday at lunch, Thursday around noon time.
Thomas, how do we do the first reading tonight? Do we just call that open amend the agenda for first reading on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do y'all want to take the date out entirely, or do you want to move it out a year, 2 years? What do you want to do? And I'll bang that out and send it to you.
I don't have any problem making it permanent myself.
Move it out, and then if we need to change it, we change it.
Well,
Yeah, it seems like.
I didn't hear that. What do y'all want? Another year until 26?
No, just extend it out permanently, they said.
Oh, take out the date entirely.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thursday.
Okay.
And that would honor a
One thing for y'all to think about in light of this, we may want to revisit the home rule amendment to authorize adoption of ordinances with 1 read. I had proposed one a couple years ago. It has some protections that it doesn't guarantee that kind of thing, but it at least for something like this would give you all the option to do that.
Okay.
I'll send out that language to y'all again to consider.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Can those be added as amendments? What you're saying?
What's that?
Whatever you're saying, can those be added as amendments?
No, that'll be something different. That's a home rule amendment. That's going to be something entirely different. That's something I'll send y'all an email to explain how that's going to be done. That's not something y'all can do tonight.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you. Bye.
Thomas, hold on a second.
Okay, sure.
We need to go over any of these others for you, since Dave's not here. Let him all day with the fire or with the blight.
The fire is just a.
Take my understanding.
So we're good on that, but the blight, do we need to just postpone that until the next meeting?
I think y'all ought to go ahead and put that on first read, take a look at it, and then you can adopt it next month. That is just, can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that is just another tool in the toolbox, but it's a fairly powerful tool that gives you another option that you don't currently have. That if you determine that a piece of property is blighted, it basically allows you to increase the taxes, the property taxes that property pays until it is cleared up. And then the property owner can apply for a tax rebate. And so it basically incentivizes these property owners with some real teeth in terms of their tax burden to clean up these properties.
Okay. Very good. All right, let's run through. Anything else that you want to talk about as far as the zoning ordinances? The zoning ordinances, Thomas?
No, everything that we have currently is self-explanatory.
Okay, very good.
I'll go over that once we get there.
Guys, y'all have any further questions for Thomas? Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So I think we're good on the alcohol, or y'all have any further discussion on that?
First reading tonight and second reading Thursday.
So we'll see you Thursday if you want to.
Hey, what time?
12.
12 here?
Mm-hmm.
I have to look and see.
But if it's a problem,
Yeah. You don't have to be here.
Thank you very much.
because that'd be the only thing on the agenda.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. I appreciate this very much. It's, I don't know what those athletes and alcohol. You guys figured it out.
Tennis players and alcohol.
Tennis players.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, I
ma'am.
appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
If it was drug, you
Yeah,
gotta understand.
when you break your hip, they start playing.
All right. The next is ordinance amendment for the fire inspection. This will be a second reading. Does anybody have any discussion on that one? I think we talked about some of the date changes that the fire chief has proposed in there, nothing more. The amendment ordinance we already have. All right, next is discussion of the blight ordinance on your tab 4. Mark, do you want to pick up on this and explain
I
it?
think Thomas did,
Okay.
unless y'all have a question.
I do have a question. We talked about rebate. Does that mean that, so that's incentive for them to get it fixed because we basically increased their taxes because it's blight, so it kind of makes up for that afterwards. Is that correct?
That's the way I read it.
Okay,
and take it.
okay.
But it's obviously a new, I've never dealt with this before.
Mhm.
On something like this, I think it's,
But
so.
Cornelia does this.
that's what I was about to say. Is that similar to what Cornelia has?
It is.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know about the languages of the ordinance, but it's.
But in general.
Yeah. And it's something where it doesn't shock them, it's coming, like they know it's coming for.
Well, they will have been contacted multiple times
Yeah.
and told in certified letters and things of that sort, so it's not like we're just saying, oh, you're
Says
lying.
if they fail to comply with orders or repairs within 270 days. So.
And they, you know, there's
They haven't
there's
responded.
there's a light at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
So,
They haven't responded with any plans.
train. Yeah. Bad analogies.
Okay.
Chief Sheriff recommended it, in fact, I don't know if I remember during the retreat,
Yeah.
he was pushing for it.
It'll apply a factor of 7 to the millage rate.
Say factors at 7 times.
I don't know, it says
I'll get
applying a factor of 7. So this is the first, we'll make this the first reading and have some clarification.
Yeah, I'll get that.
The next meeting. Give y'all some time to go through this and make any changes you want.
So my whole thing with code enforcement is that it's more, we're trying to fix everything, not to be too punitive on things.
Yeah. Nor really use this at all, just use it as a tool. Okay, any other discussion on the blight ordinance? I really challenge all y'all to read through that and make changes if you want. Strike through whatever you need to. All right, let's move on to solid disposals. Mark, what do you have on this?
Well, this will be an increase to our budget item from Fletcher and EMI. Basically, if the county landfill is closed, means we can't deliver the solids. Means we just gotta sit there with them. But if there's an emergency and we need to be able to have that option, that's where this is by adding that we've contacted the Waste Management Landfill in Homer that they can take it. So that's more of a public company there, so.
All right, trivia question of the night. What does WWTF mean?
Not WTF, it's WWTF.
WWTF. Does anyone know what that means?
Last time
I
we
think
discussed
it
about
was-
Russell, we had trouble.
I think it's probably meant to be the wastewater treatment
Facilities, wastewater treatment.
plant. The city's
Facility.
wastewater treatment
Facilities.
facility. There you go.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad.
Won the trivia there.
So all we're doing is just increasing our budget where it could go up from 10,000 to 15,000 to have this option.
But are we still gonna use the county as primary?
Absolutely. Oh, that's primary, absolutely.
Because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is just in case, an option.
Just the
As
sheer
reserve.
cost of hauling it down there is gonna cost more, so.
Yeah.
Did they answer the question about the permit compliance? It was in the email.
Well, yeah, this just keeps us within being compliant by having this option.
Okay,
So that's what it's doing.
okay. It's just increasing the budget by $5,000.
Right.
All right,
And
very
giving
good.
us that option, so we're not sitting there and then we're out of compliance because we've sat there too long.
All right, next thing on your list is discussion of the Georgia Hydrant Services invoice. This one was already approved under the ARPA funds. So we've already talked about that and approved that one, so we can strike that one unless y'all want to talk about it.
The only thing I want to tell y'all is we're 100% completed. That long list. He had given us a quote of 30,000. We paid him, y'all may have seen it in the accounts payables the other day, we paid him 20,600. And then I got the final bill of like 6,400. So he came in under budget from his proposal, and that's being paid by ARPA funds.
So all of our hydrants are operating.
In the city and in the county.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
And so we have turned that list back in to the county, and we've given them the list and the location of where the new fire hydrants were installed. Like Brian installed some additional ones. So they go out and GPS those get on the list.
Sure.
And, but our list is complete. The school board owns a couple that is on their property that they have to deal with, that we don't.
I stand next to one every morning.
Yeah.
It's great that we've got that done, because that's been deficient for years.
And the other good part is Edwin will start probably next week on servicing and painting the remaining 300.
Okay.
So that the next couple months, everything will have been painted and serviced. And this also will be helping with the water model information. It also helps the county's fire department with their testing for their ISO requirements by having this flow test and everything that Brian and EMI have been doing. So that is excellent news with that.
All right, next is moving on to amendment to the zoning ordinances. I think Mark, I think you and Jesse and Thomas met
Yep.
on this after our retreat.
What we're doing is Jesse, as part of her contract, has gone through line by line of every item, and she made notes on a master copy. And then yesterday, for about an hour and a half, Thomas was on Zoom and Jesse and I were in my office, and we went through each of her questions. We're about halfway through with making improvements, different interpretations, and we are scheduled to finish that on Friday. So what you'll see is a whole list of amendments and some additions to the charts. Like in our B1, somebody has asked, can I do a laundromat in B1? Right now, nope, it's not on the list. So we're gonna add some things like that. The other part,
So are we doing anything with this tonight, or?
well,
The first reading, right?
well, not for that part, so hang on one second here. There is a provision, go back several pages and you'll see another one that says, City of Demorest ordinance to council to amend the ordinances of, keep it from several pages. Did everybody find another one in there?
It's on 6, right?
It's tab 6. But there's 2 ordinances in here. The first one, we're gonna just table that. Because that's what Jesse and I and Thomas have to finish.
Do we need to do a first reading on it so we're ready for the next one?
He and I didn't discuss that, so that's an option, you can do that. Go ahead and do that,
Okay.
so it's just the first read.
Yeah.
Now, on this second one here, y'all we made an error when we did our land use map. We mislabeled a property. Right here, which this is at Alder Street. Jerry,
I believe so.
okay, you got that, Lance? All right, so it's right there across the street from the cemetery. And it is this piece of property right here in the green. That is a mobile home park. So it should not have been labeled agricultural.
Not that big piece with the pond, the one.
This piece right here,
Yes, sir.
where it's got the street names right there. So there's probably, I don't know, 18, 15 or so existing there. We need to change him. I found a map in there from 1992. That was shown as a mobile home park classification. Don't know what happened to 2013, then it goes into high intensity. And we put it in that, it shouldn't be that. So we're proposing a new mobile home classification. And we'll have to get new maps done. And this is to do that, but also in our ordinance, it says you cannot replace a mobile home in the city. This is different. And what we're going to do, what Thomas is proposing is Hall County's mobile home. If you want to replace it, here's the kicker. Brand spanking new. Not used, brand new. Never owned before. Untitled mobile home. So, and that allows him to continue his business. But anybody else that just is a single, it doesn't apply as a mobile home park. This is the only one that we know of in the city limits. Does that make sense? So we got to do 2 readings. So basically, we're going to change this to a mobile home, and we're going to pick up a mobile home ordinance for the mobile home park. And the key is, he needs to replace one. As of right now, he can't do that. So Any questions?
It's been there for a very long time.
And he bought it maybe a year and a half ago. He didn't come to the meetings and stuff, so, but, you know, it is what it is. Because if we would have known and thinking when we looked at this, we would have said, hey, we gotta come up with mobile home classification for that. But it just, nobody picked up on it. There also is another question that he asked, are his streets private or are they city maintained? He is trying to buy this piece of property right here. And he wants to expand his mobile home and keep it in the county. If I get that, he would still have this part in the city, but this land that's in the county would stay in the county. And the rule is, it affects its density if it's private. If it's because he would come up here to his property and he could just build an access to that. But I've asked Thomas to tell me, is there anything that we can find that says these are private or city-owned, maintained streets? Because the streets get very narrow. They do have street signs, as they're numbered right here, but it affects his density on that side from the county. If it's private, they're less. If they're public, all the way to where he would build his driveway, he can do more on the county side. Make sense?
Yeah.
But that part's not the discussion tonight. That's the discussion for Thomas and I and Brian to determine where do we end, where do we start?
Is the county open to that respect?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, that's nothing to do with us. So, but the only question they've asked him is private or city-owned streets? And that's the only question I gotta get an answer to.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, do you mind putting it back over there, Lance?
So we're looking at
Thank you.
two other first readings. The first one is to change or modify some of the ordinances that Thomas and Mark and Jesse's working through and modify. And we have some of those in the first part. The second ordinance first reading is to add that mobile home park definition to our zoning. So we'll have both of those in front of us as a first reading and then another discussion and a second reading of those.
And that will go on to our first meeting in May.
Very good. All right. Next is discussion of the downtown pavilion. Mark, what do you have for us?
All right, you'll see in here all our estimates needed. MPE services is the electrical, Capital Roofing, Pro Trust, Harbin Lumber, Enterprise Flooring, and Northeast Georgia Concrete. The flooring would be the same flooring as that speckled finish that's on the pavilion down there. So, the Harbin Lumber would be shakes, the wooden shakes on the sides, and that same heavy timber we used in front of Holden Oak Soul, where it would have that same stained look as that. And the electrical is high because we're putting every plug-in receptacle in its own breaker, so that you can plug in many things and not be tripping breakers. And the breaker won't be installed upside down, it will be installed in the metal casing right over there. And then the concrete, we gotta do a little concrete work because the back part, 1.5 feet, was added on at some point in time. And we're having to do some foundation work on that part. If you stand there and look at it, you can see what I'm talking about. And then we gotta be able to blend those two with that new flooring. So $30,000, I've got this coming out of the capital outlays from the general fund. We were thinking about this when we did the budget, but when you go down there and you look how bad that building is, the lot that's in it, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
We've got 5 events planned for the rest of the year down there at that pavilion. I mean, something that's gonna get used this year and hopefully more often in the future.
And I would call it blight on ourselves.
Is there a time frame for getting that done?
Hopefully, if it's approved tonight, they would start ordering everything tomorrow.
We have an event first Monday of June scheduled.
Yeah.
So it need to be done.
Sure. I mean, it wouldn't take Brian that long. So,
Question,
Yes, sir.
while you're working on it, what are the possibilities of putting a small sound system in that all somebody has to do is plug it on there?
Can you send me what you're thinking?
Yeah, I can do that.
You know, because I have no idea what that would include or how or what.
Right.
But any of that's a possibility while we're doing it.
I mean, the one issue with that is this is open air, right?
Well, just like the amphitheater at Beamline. You know, they have the speakers already there, you know, so if you wanted to,
Outdoor.
yeah. So if you want to just have people use that for entertainment, all they have to do is plug their sound equipment into it and then just into the speakers. See that, they'd have to bring their own mixing board, but it's just the sound, that's all they would do. Plug into the speakers.
That's something we can add. So let's,
Well, I'll get some prices.
you get me something, what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And, because obviously the electrical
Sure.
is gonna be
Yeah.
not done first, so we have those options because it's gonna be a vaulted ceiling in there and it's gonna look like the, stained 1x4s, just like Ryan did on Holden and in the pavilion
Yeah.
down there. So it's gonna have that same theme, but it's definitely looks atrocious the way it is compared to how nice everything else is done.
Right.
So,
And it always is in boogers to decorate at Christmas. It's hard to put lipstick on cookies.
That's right. I'll take your word.
you've been practicing with those 10 animals, you know? Those chickens.
All right, guys, any other discussion on this? All right. So on discussion of the dog park, Ronnie.
Okay.
So in here, I think
There's a drawing in
there's
there.
a drawing. You had a chance to look
I
at it?
have, and just to explain to everybody, this is much more than what I was thinking as far as build out is concerned. But as Mark was talking to these guys that build these things, they said that there are oftentimes lawsuits when you mix big dogs and little dogs. And so they recommended a small dog area and a large dog
Where does your
area.
medium dog go?
They get to identify however they want to. I have a small dog that would identify as a big dog. Yeah,
Chihuahua.
the twin. But it also has, you'll see 2 holding pens where you can, get your dog's leash back on, that type of thing.
That is?
And then you let the little dogs in there, you let the big dogs in there, and then we've got gates where people can access it with mowers and things like that. So
Is a separate entrance into the dog park than the rest of the field?
That doesn't look like it.
What's that?
is there a separate
Is there a separate
entrance?
entrance
So
into
you
the
got
dog?
the kid part and the dog part.
Yeah, is there
Yes.
separate entrances?
Part of it came because as we're skipping down to the right, the topo is walking down like this. I mean, we could make it work that way and have one straight into the dog park on the side and one into the larger.
Problem was the bank.
Mhm.
That's why they didn't do
Right,
that.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But we did
They're
talk
supposed to
about that.
Come in leashed anyways, right?
Come in leashed, and then in the holding pen, they would be able to let them off.
I just think your cost is gonna go up more
I'm sure it probably would.
because then it's turning into a landscaping. The other part would be done is Brian would run water to both areas and put a faucet there.
So the baseball field becomes the.
I'm gonna make it, the baseball field is gonna become a little smaller for this, cause I'm trying to give more room for the playground
Yeah.
area.
It's still pretty large though.
Well, it is.
Yeah, as in comparison to the ones that I've gone to, it's pretty big, yeah.
It's big.
But I mean, it's well used.
Yeah.
I'll say. It's a little bit misleading. It says discussion of use of Bentley Memorial Field as designated dog park. It's not just a dog park. We got kids that play on one side, and we're keeping the kids and the dogs separate. So it's not just a dog park, it's a people park too. So,
We can get the name, because it'd be two different parks.
yeah,
And they would be duly noted with dog rules,
signage.
same kind of thing.
Dog rules and kid rules.
Any other discussion?
And this will come from, y'all remember where John Hendricks had donated $10,000 for the park? And, when we closed out all the accounts at United Community, I found that $10,000. It was still in a separate account, I didn't know existed, so I have that money. And we'll turn that, how we will fund this and getting the signs and the rules done with that.
And we can also get grants for like play area dog stuff, you know, like those barrels that they jump through and things like that. And there's plenty of grants out there for,
So we've got that,
for that type of
we'll
thing.
be adding that to Brad's list.
All right, very good.
One thing on, we'll ask y'all to amend the agenda on your front page pocket. We have pulled and deleted the bulldozer request today, so that is no more. And then you'll see the GFA approval has come through for us to be able to use that lead and copper up to 50% of the funds to pay for the new Bobcat backhoe and a Bobcat trailer of lights.
Didn't we already approve that?
We did, I just wanted this is the actual quotes now, since we're actually approved. I just wanted it to be clear, and I've got my math in here, because I had to explain this to GFA to make sure they would approve us trading in the existing and getting our $32,500 trade-in value as part of our 50%. So that's the math in there, and they can only pay up to $50,000 of their money. And then the total comes out to be $51,025. So we have to subtract off that $1,025, and we have to pay that. So the total cash from the city is $19,551 with our trade-in, plus our trade-in value of $32,500, plus GFA's $50,000. That's the bottom line. So we'll need to add that. So
Since we already approved that, Council, do y'all want to add that, or you just want to take that as a head nod?
If we've already approved it, then there's.
Well, we've approved all this. I wanted to be safe than sorry and run this back through y'all with these final numbers.
I appreciate you bringing it. I remember the discussion on it.
Because otherwise, we'll sign off on this tomorrow and we'll have both items in 6 to 8 weeks.
Very good.
And again, we front the money. GFA then pays us back the $50,000.
In the light tower?
Yes. Right now, they don't have lights when they work at night.
You remember we talked about that trailer they pulled all the lights on?
What's the money for?
It's all the same thing. Both of these are covered.
Doesn't say.
Yeah, see right here, you look at the front page, it's got the Bobcat light tower
Right.
right there.
Sounds good. They need that light tower.
I don't know how they've done for that.
Yeah. All right, let's take 5 minutes and move up top.
Jimmy, do you not have this letter on top? Yeah, I'll give you mine.
What's the one look like?
That's it.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, I've got it.
Okay. What did you ask
What's
for?
what's the one look like? Current. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's behind this. Okay.
you all, last couple meetings have, elected to get in the PTSD program, and, which is very important. And as we talked about at the retreat, we, thought about getting a chaplain. Well, mine and Donnie's grandfather built a church in 1960, and Philip Brown here is the pastor of that church now. And when I talk about getting a chaplain, he's the first one to come to mind. I know him, but I didn't know him. And as I got to talking to him, he told me some things like he actually worked 15 years at EMS himself. So that just reassured me that he's the right person for our chaplain job, because we need somebody that knows what we go through, and he knows that. So I'd like to introduce him and his wife, Kayla, and their two little ones, Isaiah and bad with name, Isabel. And you can see they already got badges on. Well, we're glad to have y'all here. Thank y'all for helping out. I'd love to ask you to open up our meeting with a prayer, and we'll start the pledge and start our meeting.
Okay. Yes, Father, Lord, we humbly come to you this day, Lord, thanking you, God, just for the breath in our lungs, Lord, thanking you, Lord, Holy God, for your Son, Jesus Christ, Father. Lord God, the one you sent for us, Father, to live and to die, Father, that we could have of this life and have of it more abundantly, Father. Father, we ask that each and every one that be here, Lord, Holy God, in everything they do, that they be led of the Spirit, Father, in everything they do, God, following after Christ, the example, Lord God, our example. Father, we thank you, Lord God, for the opportunity that we could come here today, Lord, Holy God, and open up prayer just to speak with you, Lord, Holy God. Father, we ask, Lord, Holy God, that we humbly come to you, Father, that you forgive us, Lord, Holy God, where we fail you, Lord, that we could come to you, Lord God, lifting up holy hands in this day, Father. Father, touch each and every one here, God. Make them a strong soldier in the army of God, Father. Lord, they could go about doing your work in this last day, Father. Let us all be a light into this dark and dying world, Father, that we could win souls unto the salvation and unto the kingdom of God. We thank you and we praise you for each and every blessing that you've given us, God, today, tomorrow, and every day thereafter, Lord, Holy God. In the name of Jesus, we all humbly pray. Amen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. After that now.
Mercy. You need to come to church.
Yeah, everybody's welcome. Yeah.
Tell us what church it is.
It's Wolf Fork Christian Fellowship. Like Casey was saying, it's been there since 1960. Their grandpa did a great job there. He did great work. I knew their grandmother. She was there up until just recently, and they did a great work for the last 65 years. Very, very great work. I'm humbled to be a part of it. Just the work that they did for so many years. A great, great man and woman of God. I'm very humbled to be here, and thankful for the opportunity.
Well, thank you for your help.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Praise.
To the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Folks, before I take this privilege, if you come in to the council meeting after start time, this door will be locked, but the double doors over here will not. Police and fire, this door, after we start our meeting, stays locked. And we enter through that door for everybody. Because just like when y'all walked in, we were in this part of the presentation, and if you would have been on this side, y'all could have just came on in. So I know I've locked it twice, so somebody's unlocked it twice. So thank you.
So we have approval of the agenda. We have several things to amend off of this agenda or to add to this agenda. So So striking number 9, consideration of the water hydrant invoice that was already approved. Number 6 on your agenda, we're gonna amend that to a first reading. We're gonna add as the new 14, we're gonna add as the new number 10 is the blight ordinance first reading. Yeah. We're gonna add a new number 11 as an ordinance for first reading for zoning and land use. And a new number 12 ordinance first reading for the mobile home zoning class. Yes, sir, that was number 6.
So blight ordinance is the new number what?
So, blight ordinance is the new number 10 since we deleted number 9. Appearance of public comment. Anybody here ready to speak? I guess we need a approval of the agenda as amended, or y'all have to change anything.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you, sir. We need a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Very good. Anybody here to speak? Public comment? Council, anything you want to say? Y'all public? All right. Let's move over to the minutes. Those were emailed out to you. Those are the March 4th and March 8th. If you didn't have a chance to look at that email, I'll give you a chance now and entertain a motion as you review it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from March 4th and March 8th.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Next, let's move over to extending the alcohol ordinance. We talked about this as far as striking the ending period. So using the same ordinance that we have here in your book, but striking the ending period. And this is open this up for a first reading. Council, do you have anything you'd like to discuss on this? If not, we'll open up the floor for discussion. All right, we'll open this up for a first reading. Is anybody here to speak for or against this ordinance? If none, we'll move on. All right, open the floor up for.
We'll have a second reading on
First.
Oh, this one is Thursday at noon. Thursday at noon, right here for the second reading.
only because of the urgency.
Thursday at noon, second reading on just this one. The next one's under your tab 3 is the fire inspection ordinance. This one is a second reading. This changes a few of the day periods and inspection periods that the fire chief wanted changed in our current ordinance. So a couple of modifications. This is a second reading. So council, do you have anything you'd like to add or discuss on this second reading? We'll open the floor up for discussion. Is anybody here to speak for or against this? If none, council will open the floor up for a vote. We need a motion to move forward with this.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor to move forward with this fire ordinance change? Very good. Next, we have our waste water treatment plant or facility. It's different on this one. The solid disposals, as far as changing our, budget from, what was it, 10,000 to 15,000?
And using the waste management, landfill, and Homer as a secondary source.
Thank you, sir. So we need a motion to increase our budget line from 10,000 to 15,000 on that, and to add waste management, landfill, and Homer as a secondary option. So we need a motion.
Make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor to move forward with that? Thank you, guys. Next is the blight ordinance.
Mark, do we already have an account with waste management?
Say that again.
Do we have an account with waste management?
We do. Waste management, we do.
We do?
Yeah.
We use them for.
Yeah, so the sewer plant uses them. They come and, I think, pick up a dumpster.
Okay.
Not a dumpster of trash, dumpster of other things.
Sure.
15 yard.
What'd you say, Jimmy?
15.
Yard.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I
It's things
think.
they dip out of the water
Yeah.
So
several times a day.
this blight ordinance first reading, gentlemen, this is listed under tab 4, as we discussed in work session. This is a first reading. Our second reading will be at our next advertising meeting in May. So we'll open up the floor for y'all to discuss this. Y'all have anything you'd like to add or discuss on this blight? Is anyone here from the public who'd like to speak on this ordinance? If none, we will close that as the first reading on the blight ordinance. Next, we'll move on to a first reading of the zoning and land use changes that Mark and Jesse Owensby and Thomas are working through now. This is a first reading. Our second reading will be at our first meeting next month. And you will have a few of those to discuss with us at the next work session as far as those two.
Yes.
So we'll open up the floor for a first reading. Council, do y'all have anything y'all would like to add, talk about, discuss?
Just looking for the updates that come from that discussion.
Yes, sir. We'll open up the floor. Anybody from the public like to speak on that? If none, we'll close that first reading of the zoning and land use ordinance. We'll move on to item number 12, which is the first reading of the mobile home district. As far as our land use, this is the first reading. Our second reading will be at the first meeting at the first of the month as well. Council will open up the floor. Do y'all have anything y'all would like to talk about on the mobile home land use?
I think it's fair. I mean, that park's been there forever. I'm in agreement that, we use the language in this that if one is taken out, it's replaced with brand new.
Okay, so it's in the rank you want to.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we'll open up the floor for discussion. If anybody would like to speak for or against? If none, we'll move forward to closing the first reading of the mobile home zoning district ordinance. Next, we'll move on to consideration of the downtown pavilion upgrades. That's what we talked about as far as. It's on 7, actually. So, yeah. This is an upgrade, our building that we have there next to the current post office, costing $30,000, $30,440. Gentlemen, do y'all have anything you'd like to talk on this?
We've got 5 events planned for the remainder of the year at that pavilion, so it's obviously going to be getting some kind of it's obviously gonna be getting usage, and the pavilion that's down there now is not good. It needs to be fixed.
Any other further discussion?
Our first event's gonna be the first Monday in June.
We'll be done.
If none, we'll move forward to a motion to move forward with this remodel.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? All right, thank you, Jimmy. All those in favor? Very good. All right, next let's move forward to the manager's report. Mark, what do you have for us?
Promise you I'll be short and brief.
Question, so what about the park? Are we not gonna talk about that?
Yep, we missed that on our agenda. Can we amend our agenda?
Yeah.
That way,
We already have it in there. It's not on our agenda.
Yeah,
It's on
it's-
there.
No, but.
It's not.
No, I didn't put it, I didn't know if y'all would vote or not. I didn't know if it was just a discussion. That's what I don't know. So we can still amend it though.
Okay. Can we move forward to amend the amended agenda, adding the dog park?
Yes.
I need a motion.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Second.
All those in favor to amend the amended agenda? Thank you. All right, let's talk about the dog park real quick before we move forward. We have a bid to put up chain link fence for $7,050 and to allocate a section of the field for a dog park. We need a motion to move that forward.
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second? All those in favor to move forward with that bid and designating that area as a dog park?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
You want to talk about it?
So it's coming from the $10,000
Donation.
that came from, Mr. Hendricks from several years ago. And, so that's what's gonna pay for that, the signage, some things of that sort. Obviously, I could have approved this, but this has been discussed so much, I wanted to let y'all have the official part of that. And this will be designated as two different parts there.
So thank you. All right, manager's report. Mark, what do you have for us?
This week, Fletcher and his folks applied for 4 JIFA grants. This is nothing through Brad. These are the annual things that Fletcher didn't do. There's no fees or anything. And these have just been applied for. One of them, first one is for $2.5 million, which is the Garrison Road Well project. Second one is $400,000 for updating the existing water lines. $600,000 for lift station upgrades. And $975,000 for what's called I&I. That's the inflow and the infiltration into the manholes where they leak. And water, rainwater, stormwater gets into our sewer system, which means we're treating stormwater that it's not supposed to be in our system. All systems have this issue, and it's just some of these manholes and stuff are old and aged, and they leak. So there's the 4 of those. We'll know more about those as we go through that process. We've had ARPA payments have been coming out and being transferred from our reserve account. When I go into financials, you'll see our reserve go down from $1.4 million in round numbers to $1.2 million, because that's where that $422,000 is stored at, is in those reserves. And we pulled out a couple big ones. One of them was a payment of $86,000 to our SCADA system, and that was the second payment. We got roughly a $19,000 amount left, and they should be wrapping that up this week versus next week. And SCADA will be 100% brand new, up and running with all new equipment. The second one was at $20,600 for the fire hydrants, and the others have been police radios of $44,000, several items for the fire department, and so those are going as planned. And again, that's where our $18,000 of the $19,000 will be coming from ARPA to pay for those Jeep equipment. I'm sorry. Andrew, you wanna tell us about the yard sale and what you got planned for Friday and Saturday?
Yeah, we've had, one of our regulars that, participated asked to do 2 day, it's 1 day. So, we're gonna set up Thursday evening and, we'll,
What time are you setting up so I can show them?
well,
The gym, you gotta close the gym.
yeah, I would like to have access to it by 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And those start going in at 5, and bring your stuff in. And, so we're open, I don't know, the times are kind of varied up, but Friday, I would say 8 to, you have 8 to 2, but let's say 8 to never, right? And then if people don't wanna come and set up on Saturday, they're more than welcome. It is free, however, we're limited in space, I think we're about full.
They can also be set up outside though.
They could set up outside if they want to, they sure could, I sure could. And, but tables, in the past, we've allowed them to rent tables for the city, it's become a headache. So this around, we can say we provide your own tables. And, may try to do one more this year. But it has, I mean, it's turned into a decent amount. We enjoy it, it's just fellowship. You know, people in the community, so. I appreciate you allowing us to do it.
Good. Andrew and I have talked and met, and I've sent the, contract for the band to Thomas. And so I've got a real issue with the contract, and whether it's really gonna happen or not.
We're on their website.
Yeah, but we don't have a signed contract.
I know.
And so we can't sign the contract they just sent us. We gotta make those changes. Thomas, I included it back to you from Thomas, and we do not have a signed contract. Not our fault, because again, we can't sign their contract that they wanted to give us, because there's just a lot of things in there. So I'm not sure if we legally don't have one, but we verbally have one.
Right.
And I'm not comfortable with that. So we really need to give them a date to respond to us. So you and I can work on that together, please, sir. On a happy note, Casey, you and James come up here real quick. As Isaiah and Isabella had on their stickers that Casey talked about, I got a note the other day from somebody, and I called Casey and said, "Who's on duty this afternoon?" And I think you said it was Benoit, because he was down in the park giving out stickers to these kids that's playing in the park. And these parents were so excited about that. And here, this cop's on duty, and he's giving out those stickers. And I just want you to talk about those stickers and, some of your swag stuff. And obviously, it made a big impression on all these people that text me that info.
We got those stickers last year after our retreat. I think we got, 4,000 stickers? 4,000. 5,000, something like that. So every so often we see a bunch of kids down there, we all go down there and hand stickers out at times. And,
those little things, just like that.
We got coloring books and stuff like that we hand out. Y'all have all seen our tent and stuff. We'll have all that displayed for the 4th.
And for May the 8th.
And May the 8th. I'll be out of town that day.
Right.
James will.
Your right and left hand will have you covered.
They'll be down there handing stickers out.
All right, thank you very much. But do tell your officers, that's a great program.
Yes, sir, we will.
And thank you.
Go slide down,
James
All right, going to our first report, which is Brian's report. We had 15 emergency locates, 313 locates, 246 work orders. And looks like he didn't total it there, but they had about 14 leaks they repaired. And we fixed 2 hydrants here in the city. And we lost a little over 825,000 gallons of water through leaks, etc., out of that 54 million gallons that we did for the month. We did 42,000 gallons 42 million gallons from Baldwin, 6.3 from Tacoma, and 6.3 from our Myers Road well, for a total of 54 million gallons. That's down about 10 million from last month. So again, we should be less in the wintertime with the amount of water that we're purchasing and selling. But it's been pretty steady. And our payment to Baldwin was 129,000, and to Tacoma was like 25,000. So they did one asphalt repair, emergency call to 911 was 10, one sewer call, and streets and leak did 401 stops of picking up those items there. Over here on Holly, I know some of y'all have noticed the leak. It's right there at Cedar and Pine and Holly right there. That is a valve cutoff. And that also is a location that is on our LMIG to redo that intersection there. But I told Brian I can't stand it, knowing it's leaking, because he has to cut off 7 areas over there. And how many streets was it, Meg?
What did you say? I'm sorry. I was not listening.
It's all right. How many streets did Brian tell you that we've got to send out notices? Was it 7 streets?
For the new LAR or the one we already did?
No, the one for the repair job he's got to do over here on Holly. He said he gave you all the streets.
Oh, he did. Yes, there are 7.
Okay.
I can tell you the 7. Holly, Pine, Cedar, Blue Ridge, Indiana, Porter, Tennessee. The water will be interrupted around 9. It'll last about 4 hours. It'll be down to 1 lane of traffic and there will be flaggers.
It's gonna be a major ordeal, but he's then gotta go ahead and fix it and go ahead and, I don't know if he's gonna go ahead and asphalt it or wait, because then he's got the rocks and the gravel and all that sitting there. So this is a big deal. You and I are going back and forth whether to wait, but I can't handle seeing that water there. It's like, we know there's a leak, but we're not doing anything about it. But it's a big deal for what we have to do with that, so. And we've got all that, maybe we've got that on Facebook and stuff.
We are working on it. I'm waiting for EMI for the notice that we publish. But
I'm just about notifying the public that the water's gonna be cut off at 9.
Yes.
We've done that.
We'll handle it, yes.
Okay. All right, on the fire department had 65 calls, and for the month, the biggest ones there are EMS calls, and at roughly 29%. That makes up the majority. Then the dispatch and cancel was 37% of the calls out of that 65. That means they will call to a site and they will call it off before they got there. The fire inspections and code enforcement did 18 inspections this past month. And the firefighters received 66 hours of training.
Let me speak on the fire department for a minute. After our retreat last time, I got paranoid about my house burning down. And I bought smoke alarms for my entire house that are Wi-Fi and they talk to each other. So as I was putting them up, I pressed the test button on one, not knowing that it would communicate to the other ones. And it communicated to the other ones and set them all off, and it called the fire department. And they were in my driveway from the time that I pressed that test button in probably a minute and a half or less. It was a correct, I didn't even have the alarm off yet. So I applaud that response time on my false alarm, so thank you very much.
Our average response time inside the city limits 4 minutes and like 28 or 32.
It was less than that.
That's
It was remarkable how quick they got there.
You also got a ticket too from all of But the sad part is he hadn't paid yet. So, Casey, we may have to get him of not paying his debt. Thank you for that, and thank y'all for the fire department. Casey and his police officers had 527 calls for the month. 4 domestic, 11 incident reports, 15 accidents, 236 traffic stops and 75 citations, which is 32%. 3 arrests, 2 DUIs, and his officers completed 40 hours of training.
And gave a bunch of stickers.
And they got a bunch of stickers. They got a lot of points. The next page there is just a highlight page. I told y'all wrong that we had not taken any transfers from the water to the general fund. And this right here corrects me that I told you incorrect. In the month of February, we took $18,799. So, and we have done one this past week for $30,000. So we've done 2 now carrying us through the first quarter of the year. So I'm pretty proud of what we were able to do through our cash flow with that. We received 2 SPLOST payments in the month of February. For some reason, we did not get one in January, and that totaled $71,256. So, you know, we're hitting about $33,000, $32,000 a month in that. We made our next to last e-pumper fire truck payment of $94,000. We got 1 payment left next March. Our water sales, I'll hit those in a second there. And the new radio is down at the bottom at $44,875. That's out of ARPA money there. And you can see we spent roughly $36,000 on various water, sewer repairs, pipe supply, etc. You go to the financials. The financials are dated February 28th, and the cash balances are reconciled as of March 31st. And I would applaud our CPA that the month end was last night. And they got financials by before noon today, and they had to reconcile all the way through yesterday, being March 31st. You can see where our cash position is a very good position here. You can look on our overall total. In February, we were at 3.2. If you take us through yesterday, being March 31st, we're at 3.3, which is an increase in total cash of $99,000. You look at our operating cash, February 28th, we had 671. You look at our operating cash as of March 31st at $948,000. That's $277,000 more in a 30-day period, which is where our cash flow is coming through in what we had budgeted and what we're doing. You'll see where our cash, it says water and sewer reserves under the February 28th, which is a value, dollar amount of $1,449,000, and then if you go to the right, it's down roughly $200,000 on that same line item with the March 31st, and so that's where y'all was telling y'all, I'll show y'all where the ARPA money in the reserves was going down from that point, but that's intended. I added a new column down below on the number of months of liquidity on our unrestricted. We went back and we calculated our number of months going back to March of 24 through February. We got 3.67 months of total cash to pay every bill that we have for almost 4 months. So that is an excellent position to be in. Our lowest was May and June of 24 at 3.08. So we want to see that number continuing to grow from that 3.67. Next page shows our debt service. And you'll see, down below where it says the $46,098, that is Casey's second to last payment that he'll make on his cruisers. And then he'll have 1 payment left of that 46, just like the 94,000 for the pumper. And that'll be both of those last payments in 2026. You can see the payment there of the DDA building here, $7,951. So everything is current. You go to page 3, look at your revenues for the month. You can see where the taxes have come in at $311,000. This shows you 2 months on the right-hand side where it says total government funds. And that $93,000 there was from the franchise fee of being Georgia Power. So we collected $472,000, and you can see down at the bottom with the total expenditures, general government, police and courts, fire, and public works. And we had a shortfall there of $75,000 to make up. Page 4, it shows you the current month of where we collected 79. Those pages on the other are combined from the first 2 months of the year. And this is for the month of February right here. When we collected the total, right at round number $190,000. We had $251,000 in expenses, which was a shortfall of $61,000. And right below that, as you can see, we only needed that $18,800 to cover. But we had cash flow to cover the rest of that shortfall. So, you can see where it's lost, where it says lost revenue, 71,000. That's where, we are with the 2 months. And our budget is 362 for that total. Page 5 shows you the income for the water and sewer. We got an excellent 2 months. We got a net operating of $189,000 for the month, and a net operating for the 2 months of $384,000. So our income and expenses are true to what we're doing and sticking very closely to those numbers. So the cash flow is coming through very nice. On page 6, this is where you can see our budget of each item. Where water revenue is 6.9, we're at $1,077,000. So we were in line with hitting all these numbers. I think if I annualize these 2 months, it would put us at about 8.2, about $100,000 under the revenue, and about $2 million under the expenses. So things are excellent there. It's lost dollars. Like I said, we've got that total in there. We'll be taking out, obviously, LMIG percentage out of that, and then we've got water and sewer, these kind of things going on. So that concludes my report, unless y'all have questions. Any questions?
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome very much.
Lastly, another appearance and public comment. Anybody here like to speak? Council, anything y'all would like to add or talk about?
Nothing to discuss about the parking lot, up here, right? You want to go, I know we talked about the work session. Good on the parking lot?
Nothing to talk about.
Well, we didn't put it for a vote because I didn't know what y'all would want to do with it. But
We can amend the already amended agenda, add to there for a vote to move that forward.
because we do have to have some clarity. Right now, if you approve those 2 contracts and we don't engage them to start, then we haven't done anything. But until we engage them to start,
Right.
we don't have anything.
We won't be able to get the real numbers.
Correct.
That's right,
That's right.
I say,
Won't you?
I say we amend the agenda and start getting some real numbers on that.
And add the 2 quotes for the engineering and the survey of land development. Okay, we have a second for that motion. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, I'm the second.
Okay, that's a second for amending that for discussion. All those in favor? All right, so let's talk about, where's that at?
Tab 1.
Tab 4. So we're looking at the Gresham Planning and Development bid that's in front of us for $6,025. And the Foothills Land Design that's in front of you for 2 bids, $9,200 and $3,500. But moving forward, we're talking about, or discussing to put a plan together for the parking lot. That is the first plan, so moving the fire department up here and getting a quote together so we can move the post office. Post office. Yeah.
And this is just engineering.
And this is just engineering and site development.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir, for both of those.
Yes.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor to move forward with that? Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for that and a clear definition. Where we go.
Yeah, because we can't go forward without.
Do we have any other public comments?
No, Mark, he's gonna get with you in the morning.
Nice, what's his name?
Joe.
Okay, thank you,
I
brother.
shared your contact with him, and he said,
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, no other discussion, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
Thank you, sir. Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Good, thank you, guys.
Does somebody wanna take this book home and then